It's not about being rich. It's about managing what you already have better than most people ever will. Most people think the key to financial freedom is earning more. A raise, a new side hustle, another business idea. But here's the truth, earning more doesn't fix money problems if you don't know how to manage what's already coming in. I've met people making six figures who still live paycheck to paycheck, others earning far less who quietly build wealth every single month. So here's the question, why do so many people earn good money yet still feel broke, stressed, or behind? Why does it feel like no matter how much comes in, there's never enough left over? The answer usually isn't in your paycheck, it's in your system. In this video, I'm going to give you a transparent, step breakdown of how to build a balanced personal finance system that actually works in real life. No unrealistic budgeting rules, no just stop buying coffee advice, just practical structure. We're going to cover 3 core pillars that form the foundation of long-term wealth. First, how to budget smarter, so you know exactly where your money goes and why. Second, how to save consistently, even when life feels unpredictable or expensive. And third, how to invest strategically, not for overnight success, but for long-term stability and growth. Personal finance isn't about perfection or restriction. It's about clarity and control, knowing that every dollar you earn has a purpose. Purpose moves you closer to financial freedom instead of further from it. If you've ever felt like your money disappears faster than you make it, this video will show you how to finally turn that around. When most people hear the word budget, they instantly think of restriction, cutting back, saying no, depriving yourself. But a real budgeting system isn't about limits, it's about awareness. Seeing your money clearly enough to make decisions that actually move you forward. Because if you don't tell your money where to go, it'll always find a way to disappear on its own. The foundation of any personal finance plan starts with this, a structure that helps you allocate income toward your needs, your wants, and your future goals, with flexibility built in. There's no one-size-fits-all formula, but there are a few systems that actually work in real life. Take the 60-way 3-out-of-10 rule, for example. It's simple and visual. 60% of your income goes to essential expenses, things you have to pay for: rent, groceries, utilities, insurance. 30% goes to lifestyle spending, the stuff that adds quality to your life, like eating out, travel, subscriptions, hobbies. And the final 10% is dedicated to future goals, savings, repayment, or investments. This rule works because it's adaptable. Some months your needs might stretch to 70%, and that's fine, as long as you're still giving attention to all 3 categories. There's zero-based budgeting, which gives every dollar a job. You start with your total income and allocate it down to 0, meaning every single dollar is assigned somewhere. It doesn't mean you spend it all. It just means you're being intentional. Maybe $2,000 for rent, $500 for groceries, $300 for savings, $200 for fun. Whatever matches your reality. When you hit 0, you know exactly where everything is going. Nothing's unaccounted for. And if you prefer something more tactile or visual, the envelope method still works, even in a digital world. You set envelopes for different categories, say $800 for food, $500 for housing, $400 for entertainment. Once that envelope is empty, you're done for that month. There's something powerful about seeing limits visually instead of emotionally. Here's how this looks in practice. Someone earns $5,000 a month after taxes. They decide to follow a flexible version of the 60-3-10 rule. That means the $3,060% goes to essentials, $1,600 for rent, $400 for groceries, $200 for utilities, $400 for car and insurance, and $400 for other recurring bills. $500 is 3% is for lifestyle spending, dining out, weekend activities, gym, streaming, maybe a small travel fund. 500's 10% goes directly toward future goals, 300 into a high-yield savings account, and 200 into an index fund or IRA. It's not about the exact percentages. It's about having structure. An emergency pops up or rent increases. The ratios can shift, but the awareness stays the same. And here's the key: the system should feel empowering, not punishing. You can automate most of it. Set your bills on autopay. Route your savings and investments to separate accounts before you even see the money, and use apps or dashboards that categorize spending automatically. When you open your account at the end of the month, you shouldn't feel guilt, you should feel clarity. The biggest budgeting mistake people make is treating their budget like a diet. They start strict, cut too much, then cheat, and give up. But the most effective budgets are flexible and forgiving. You'll overspend sometimes, you'll forget to log a purchase. That's fine. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to stay aware. Take it a step further, add visual feedback. Many budgeting apps now give you color-coded dashboards: green for on track, yellow for warning, red for over budget. This little bit of feedback trains your brain to pay attention without stress. You can even set category alerts, like a reminder when you've hit 80% of your dining budget, so you adjust before it becomes a problem. The mindset shift here is huge. Budgeting isn't about cutting back, it's about gaining control. When you have a clear view of where your money is going, you make conscious trade-offs instead of accidental ones. Choosing where to spend instead of reacting after you've already spent. And that's the real win. When you can see exactly where your money goes, you start directing it instead of wondering where it went. Most people save money reactively, not proactively. Something breaks, a bill surprises them, and then they start thinking, should have saved more. But real financial stability doesn't come from reacting. It comes from being ready before life happens. Saving isn't about having extra. It's about creating security, breathing room, and eventually freedom. Think about it this way. Saving money is like building a personal safety net. Every dollar you save isn't just sitting there. It's protecting your future self from stress, bad timing, or unnecessary debt. The goal isn't to hoard money, it's to create options. When you have savings, you get to make better decisions because you're not desperate. Let's build this in layers, starting with the foundation. Your emergency fund, this is your financial seatbelt. The one thing that keeps you safe when life swerves unexpectedly. The sweet spot is 3 to 6 months of living expenses, depending on how stable your income is. If your monthly costs are around $3,000, aim for at least $9,000 to $18,000 over time. That might sound huge, but you don't have to do it all at once. Start small, even $100 a month adds up faster than you think. What matters most is consistency. Next, move up to short-term savings goals. These are things you'll probably spend on within the next 1 to 3 years. Vacations, a new laptop, moving to a new apartment, or buying a car. They're important because they keep life enjoyable without wrecking your long-term goals. When you plan for them in advance, you can enjoy spending guilt-free later. There's the long-term savings layer. This is your future freedom fund, retirement, early financial independence, or even just the option to take a break later in life. The earlier you start this, the more powerful compounding becomes. Here's what that looks like in action. Let's say you commit to saving $300 a month, not an extreme amount, just steady progress. After a year, that's $3,600. In 5 years, an $18,000. But if you invest that $300 monthly with an average annual return of 7%, in 20 years, it grows to over $150,000. That's the power of consistency, small steps multiplied by time. Now, the trick that helps most people stick with saving is separation. Don't dump all your savings into one account. Create individual accounts or labeled sub-accounts for each goal. For example, emergency fund, travel fund, future freedom. When you label your money with a purpose, your brain treats it differently, feeling like just savings and starts feeling like progress towards something tangible. Behavioral studies show that people save up to 40% more when their goals are visual and specific. Hawaii Trip 2026 in your banking app makes it real and motivates you to keep going. Another small but powerful tip, automate it. The less willpower you need, the better. Have your savings transfer set up automatically right after payday. Treat it like a bill you owe yourself. Flips the script from, I'll save what's left, to, I'll spend what's left after saving. You can even gamify it. Many modern apps round up your purchases and stash the spare change. Or give visual trackers that show your progress toward a goal. These little psychological nudges make saving more engaging and less abstract. It's also important to recognize that saving doesn't mean saying no to fun forever. Balance. You're not saving to restrict your life today. You're saving to protect your life tomorrow. You're giving yourself the flexibility to handle emergencies without panic, to take opportunities without fear, and to enjoy life without financial guilt. Because when you have savings, you start to feel lighter. That background stress, the what if something goes wrong thought starts to fade. Stop making decisions from scarcity and start acting from strength. And that's the shift. Saving money isn't about deprivation. It's about buying yourself freedom and options later. Every dollar you save is one less dollar of worry and one more piece of peace of mind. Most people overcomplicate investing, or worse, they wait too long to start. They think they need to understand charts, pick perfect stocks, time the market before putting in a single dollar. But that mindset keeps them stuck on the sidelines while time quietly builds wealth for someone else. The truth is simple, start simple, stay consistent. Investing isn't about guessing what happens next week. It's about building ownership in the economy for decades. When you invest, you're not gambling. Tiny pieces of real businesses that make the world run. Companies that build cars, create software, design phones, produce food. You're participating in progress, and over time, progress pays. Start with the basics, the tools that make this work. The simplest, most effective way to invest for long-term growth is through index funds and ETFs. Baskets of hundreds or even thousands of stocks bundled together so you don't have to pick winners. For example, an S&P 500 index fund owns shares in 500 of America's biggest companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, automatically diversifying your money across the economy. Then there are retirement accounts. You're built in tax advantages. A 401k through your employer allows you to invest pre-tax money, often with a company match, which is basically free money. IRAs and Roth IRAs are for individual investors. The Roth lets your money grow tax-free over time, which can make a massive difference decades down the road. fancy or exclusive. They're the foundation most millionaires quietly use to build wealth behind the scenes. Now, let's talk about the part that turns small steps into huge results: compounding. It's often called the eighth wonder of the world because of how quietly powerful it is. Think of compounding like planting a tree. At first, it's small and barely noticeable. But every year, it grows a little taller. Those branches start to grow their own branches. Eventually, that tree becomes a forest, and all you had to do was keep watering it. Here's a quick example. Imagine two people. Person A starts investing $500 a month today and keeps doing that for 30 years. Person B waits 5 years, then starts investing the same $500 a month for 25 years. Assuming a 7% annual return, person A ends up with about $610,000. Person B, even though they invested for only 5 years less, ends with around $430,000. That 5-year delay costs almost $180,000. Not because of bad timing, but because of lost time. That's the magic of starting early and staying consistent. Consistency also protects you from the biggest trap in investing: emotion. When markets drop, fear kicks in. When they rise, greed takes over. The way to beat both is through dollar cost averaging, investing the same amount on a schedule, no matter what the market is doing. Some months you buy when prices are high, others when they're low, but over time, average out the cost and remove emotion from the equation. Trying to time the market is like trying to catch the perfect wave without ever getting in the water. Even professional investors get it wrong more often than they'd like to admit. Instead of predicting, just participate. The longer your money stays invested, the more likely it is to grow. Because the market historically always trended upward over time. Diversification is what keeps you safe while you do this. Never put all your eggs in one basket, not even one stock, one industry, or one country. That's why index funds and ETFs are so powerful. They spread your risk automatically. If one company struggles, dozens of others quietly balance it out. So don't wait until you know everything before you begin. The perfect time to start investing was yesterday. The second best time is today. You don't need to chase the hottest stock or find the next big thing. You just need to build a habit. Because investing isn't about predicting the future. It's about owning a small piece of it. It's how ordinary people quietly build extraordinary wealth, not through luck, but through patience. Need to predict the market. You just need to participate in it consistently. Managing cash flow isn't just about tracking money. It's about creating freedom from stress. When your money flows automatically toward the right places, you stop worrying about every dollar and start focusing on living your life. The principle is simple but powerful. Pay yourself first, then automate the rest. Most people do the opposite. They pay bills, spend on lifestyle, and then save whatever's left. But that mindset keeps you stuck. Paying yourself first flips the script. You treat saving and investing as mandatory, not optional. It's like giving your future self top priority every single month. Here's how to make that happen automatically. Start with direct deposit. If your paycheck goes straight into your account, split it into different destinations before you even see it. For example, 70% can go into your main checking account for bills and spending, 20% into savings, and 10% into investments. Many banks now let you set up this kind of split automatically, meaning your budget runs itself. Then set up auto transfers to your savings and investment accounts. Schedule them to happen right after payday, so you're saving at the start of the month, not the end. This one change alone can transform your consistency. You're no longer relying on motivation or memory happening quietly in the background. Next, put your bills on autopay. Whether it's rent, insurance, credit cards, or utilities, automate as many fixed payments as possible. This prevents late fees, protects your credit score, and more importantly, eliminates mental clutter. You don't need to think, did I pay that yet, every week. Your system handles it. What's left after these automations is your true spendable money. That's the amount you can use freely without guilt, because everything else, savings, investing, and bills, is already taken care of. This structure removes decision fatigue, which is one of the biggest reasons people fail to stay consistent with money habits. Here's an example. Imagine someone earning $400 a month after taxes. Automate $400 into savings and $200 into investments on the same day their paycheck lands. Their fixed bills total around $2,000 and are all on autopay. That leaves them with $400 in their checking account for food, gas, lifestyle spending. No mental math, no juggling. The system runs itself. And at the end of the month, there's no guilt, because every dollar went exactly where it was supposed to. But what if your income isn't predictable? Freelancer salespeople and gig workers deal with this all the time. For them, percentage-based automation works better than fixed numbers. Instead of committing to $500 every month, you commit to allocating percentages of each payment that comes in. For example, every time you get paid, you might put 50% toward essentials, 30% toward taxes and savings, 10% toward investments, and 10% for personal spending. That way, when income fluctuates, your system adjusts with it, but your structure stays intact. Automation also protects you from emotional spending. When your money is already allocated, it's harder to sabotage your goals with impulse buys. You can't accidentally spend your savings if it's already transferred to another account. You start to view spending as a choice, not a reflex. This leads to one of the most underrated benefits of cash flow management's stability. When you automate the right habits, your finances stay steady even when your emotions don't. You could be tired, busy, or distracted, but your money keeps doing the right thing without you. That consistency compounds quietly in the background, building wealth while you live your life. Automation doesn't just make managing money easier. It removes friction from your daily routine. You spend less time worrying and more time creating, working, or relaxing. No longer need to try harder to be disciplined because your system is the discipline. One small tip, review your automations every few months. As your income, expenses, or goals change, the percentages or transfer amounts. The system isn't meant to be rigid, it's meant to evolve with you. Think of cash flow automation like designing a conveyor belt for your money. It moves automatically to the right destinations, bills, savings, investments, without manual effort. And once it's set up, your only job is to keep the conveyor belt moving by earning and reviewing occasionally. Because at the end of the day, financial peace doesn't come from control, it comes from consistency. The less you rely on willpower to manage your money, the more consistent your results will be. Debt is one of those words that instantly brings tension, stress, guilt, even embarrassment. But here's the truth, almost everyone has dealt with it in some form. Debt isn't a sign of failure, it's a financial tool. The difference between stress and success is how you manage it. The key is not to avoid debt at all costs, but to handle it strategically, balancing growth with responsibility. Let's start with what really matters. All debt is created equal. There's high interest debt and low interest debt, and understanding the difference changes everything. Interest debt usually includes credit cards and personal loans, anything charging double-digit interest. This type of debt grows faster than most investments ever could, which makes it urgent to tackle. Your credit card has a 20% interest rate. It's almost impossible to build wealth while carrying that balance because the interest eats your progress every month. Interest debt, things like student loans or mortgages, often in the 3-6% range. These can be managed more strategically because their cost of borrowing is lower, and in many cases, the debt helps you build long-term value, like education or property. The goal isn't necessarily to eliminate all debt immediately, but to create a plan that fits your bigger financial picture. Two of the most effective methods for paying off debt are the avalanche method and the snowball method. Let's focuses on math. You pay off debts with the highest interest rates first while making minimum payments on the rest. This saves you the most money over time. The snowball focuses on psychology. You pay off your smallest debts first, building momentum and motivation with each win. Neither is better. Depends on your personality. If you're disciplined and numbers driven, avalanche method will get you to freedom faster. If you're more motivated by progress and emotional wins, the snowball method keeps you engaged longer. What matters most is picking one and sticking to it. A simple scenario. Imagine someone named Sarah who's juggling $6,000 in credit card debt at 20%, a $15,000 car loan at 6%, and $30 in student loans at 4%. Using the avalanche method, she focuses on the credit card first, throwing every spare dollar at it while paying minimums on the others. Once that's gone, she redirects that same payment momentum toward the car loan and then the student loan. Over time, saved compounds into thousands of dollars that stay in her pocket instead of the bank's. But here's where most people get stuck. They think they have to be completely debt-free before they can start investing. That's not true. If your high interest debts are under control, you can and should start investing alongside repayment. For example, if your student loans are at 4%, but you're earning 7% on your investments, actually growing faster by doing both. The trick is balance. In Sarah's case, after tackling her credit card, she decides to invest $300 per month into a Roth IRA while continuing to pay extra on her car loan. Her investments begin compounding quietly, even as her debt shrinks. That dual progress creates a powerful mindset shift. She's no longer just getting out of debt, she's building wealth. Automation helps here too. Setting up automatic payments for debt ensures consistency, and pairing it with auto investing removes the emotional guesswork. Instead of feeling torn between paying bills and investing, you've already built both into your system. It's also worth remembering that debt is emotional before it's mathematical. It can feel heavy, but part of that weight comes from uncertainty, not knowing how long it'll last or how to handle it. The moment you create a system, when you know which debts to target, how much to pay, and when you'll be free, the anxiety starts to fade. You take control of the narrative instead of letting the debt control you. And if you ever feel stuck, remind yourself that the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every on-time payment, every reduced balance, every dollar redirected toward your goals moves you forward. The point isn't to live a life with zero debt. It's to live a life where debt doesn't dictate your decisions. Some debt builds your future, some slows it down. Knowing the difference is financial maturity. Because at the end of the day, debt doesn't define your financial identity. Your system for handling it does. At this point, you've got the structure. A budget that gives direction, savings that build security, investments that grow wealth, and systems that keep everything running automatically. But the real transformation doesn't come from the tactics alone. It comes from your mindset, the way you think about money, habits, term progress. Because the truth is, financial success isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about building a system that keeps working even when life doesn't go as planned. There will be months when you overspend, when emergencies pop up, or when motivation drops off completely. The difference between those who build wealth and those who struggle isn't intelligence, it's consistency. That's why money management needs to become part of your lifestyle, not just a project you work on when you feel inspired. You want your financial system to run in the background of your life like a well-tuned engine. Smooth, steady, reliable. Let's talk about a few tools that make this effortless. Apps like EAB's You Need a Budget, Monarch, and Mint are powerful for tracking spending, setting categories, and visualizing your progress. Turn your financial life into a dashboard. You can see where your money went, how your goals are tracking, and what needs adjustment in minutes. Tools remove the guesswork and turn vague financial goals into something you can measure. Then, set up recurring reminders for money check-ins. This could be a simple calendar event that repeats every month. Money review. 30 minutes. You don't need to spend hours analyzing spreadsheets. Just half an hour of reviewing your income, spending, and goals each month is enough to keep your system aligned. Think of it like an oil change for your finances, small maintenance that prevents bigger problems later. During that monthly review, look for patterns. Are you spending more than expected in one category? Did your savings or investment transfers go through correctly? Are there subscriptions you no longer use? This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. When you know where your money is going, you're already ahead of 90% of people. And here's a behavioral insight most people miss: our brains crave progress more than perfection. Seeing your debt go down by 200 or your savings rise by 300 creates a dopamine boost. The same kind of reward loop that keeps people hooked on social media, but in a healthy way. The more you see your progress, the more motivated you become to keep going. That's why visual tracking, progress bars, milestone goals, or dashboards can make a massive difference in sticking with your system long term. Another mindset shift: treating money management as punishment. It's not about restriction or guilt. It's about alignment, making sure your money supports your values, and goals. When you spend, save, and invest intentionally, your financial life starts to reflect the life you actually want. Let's say you love travel. Build a travel fund and automate small contributions every month. When that next trip opportunity comes up, you can say yes, without hesitation or debt. Or if you're working toward financial independence, set a clear monthly investing goal. Every time you hit it, you're literally buying back a little piece of your future freedom. And remember, it's okay if your system isn't perfect. What matters is that it's yours and that it works for your lifestyle. Financial systems are the ones that keep running even when you're busy, distracted, or tired. That's what turns short-term habits into lifelong results. You'll notice something over time: as your system stabilizes, stress drops. Money stops feeling chaotic. You stop checking your balance with anxiety and start doing it with confidence. You begin to see patterns, predict outcomes, and feel in control. That's when financial management stops being something you have to do and starts being something that quietly supports you in the background. Because at the end of the day, money isn't a math problem, it's a habits problem. And the better your system, the richer your life feels. If you found this helpful, check out my follow-up video, Automating Your Finances for Financial Freedom. It's where I'll show you how to set your money on autopilot so you can focus on living, not managing.